Ask someone to name a classic 50s wagon and you already know what they will say. The Chevy Nomad with that slanted rear pillar. The Ford Country Squire with the fake wood panels. Maybe a Buick Roadmaster if they really know their stuff. And those are fine cars. Beautiful, even. But the wagons from the 1950s that were actually incredible, the ones with the wildest engineering, the rarest production numbers, and the stories that sound made up, you have almost certainly never heard of them. We're talking about a station wagon with a Hemi V8 and a factory-installed record player. A wagon built entirely from junkyard Plymouths that cost less than $1,000. A coach-built hardtop that could do 118 miles per hour with the whole family inside. These 6 cars were forgotten because the companies that built them no longer exist. And once a brand dies, its cars disappear from memory almost as fast as they disappear from the road. To understand how these wagons came to exist, you need to understand what was happening in America at the time. Before World War II, station wagons accounted for less than 1% of all car production. They were hand-built from real wood, required hundreds of board feet of lumber per vehicle, and Ford reportedly lost money on every single one. Then the suburbs happened. 1 million new homes for returning veterans, the baby boom, 2-car families for the first time, and the transition from wood bodies to all-steel construction, which made wagons affordable enough for the middle class. By 1959, station wagons captured roughly 17% of all new car sales. A Chevrolet dealer in Brandon, Mississippi sold more wagons in 1955 alone than in the previous 19 years combined. The names told you exactly what Detroit was selling. Ford called theirs the Country Squire, as if the buyer owned a country estate. Plymouth named theirs the Suburban, targeting the market directly. House Beautiful magazine even branded an entire lifestyle concept called station wagon living. These were the SUVs of their era. But here is what gets lost in that story. In the rush to build hundreds of thousands of wagons, some genuinely remarkable machines rolled off assembly lines in tiny numbers, did extraordinary things, and then vanished. These are 6 of the best. Number 1. The 1957 Buick Century Caballero. Caballero means gentleman in Spanish, and Buick pitched this wagon squarely at country club suburbanites. But the Century series had another nickname that tells you more about what this car actually was. They called it the banker's hot rod. The reason was simple. Buick took their largest engine, a 364 cubic inch nailhead 5.8, producing 300 horsepower, and dropped it into the smaller, lighter Century body. The result was a 4-door station wagon with a published top speed of 118 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 11.1 seconds. For a vehicle that weighed over 4,000 pounds and could carry your entire family plus luggage, that was astonishing. But the Caballero had something even more unusual than its speed. It was a pillarless hardtop wagon, meaning there was no B-pillar between the front and rear windows. Roll all 4 windows down, and the entire greenhouse opened up like a convertible with a roof. The effect was stunning. This impossibly airy, elegant profile that made every other wagon on the road look like a box on wheels. These bodies were not built on a normal General Motors assembly line. They came from the Ionia Manufacturing Company in Michigan, a custom coach builder whose other clients included the Packard Caribbean Convertible and the Lincoln Continental Mark II. That gives the Caballero something almost no other wagon can claim: genuine, coach-built provenance. At $3,831, the Caballero was the single most expensive model in the entire Century lineup, more than the convertible. Buick built just over 10,000 in 1957, but when the recession hit, production collapsed to 4,456 in '58. Most were used as family haulers and driven until they fell apart. Today, excellent examples sell for 6 figures at auction. R.M. Sotheby's moved a 2-owner Caballero for over $100,000, but the pillarless design that made the Caballero so beautiful also made it fragile. More wind noise, more body flex, more water leaks. GM killed the pillarless hardtop wagon after 1959, and that decision erased an entire category of automobile from the American road. Number 2. The 1957 Oldsmobile Super 88 Fiesta. If you want to understand why this wagon matters, you need to know one number: $83. That was the price of the J2 Tri-Power option. For $83, your Oldsmobile Fiesta wagon received 3 Rochester 2-barrel carburetors mounted on a special intake manifold, bumping output from the 371 cubic inch Rocket V, 8 to 300 horsepower. The name J2 was a play on JATO rockets, the jet-assisted takeoff units used by the military. The system was clever. During normal driving, only the center carburetor operated. You would cruise to the grocery store sipping fuel like any other wagon. But the moment you pressed the accelerator to the floor, the two outboard carburetors opened up and the Fiesta transformed into something that would not exist as an official category for another 7 years. This was a muscle car drivetrain in a family wagon, and it predated the Pontiac GTO by an entire generation. Like the Caballero, the Fiesta was a pillarless hardtop with coach-built bodies from Ionia Manufacturing. Oldsmobile had actually dropped station wagons from their lineup entirely, from 1951 through 1956. When they came back swinging. The really serious option was the J2 competition package at $395. That added forged pistons and a solid lifter camshaft, the exact same setup that Lee Petty and his son Richard Petty ran in NASCAR. The idea that you could walk into an Oldsmobile dealership, order a station wagon with a NASCAR-grade engine for a few $100s, and drive it home to your family in the suburbs is one of the great absurdities of 1950s America. One documented Fiesta spent 38 years as an oil field pump maintenance vehicle in the desert before someone realized what it was. Another owner, a former Ford stylist, rearranged the Oldsmobile hood letters on the trunk to spell out the word slob model. J2-equipped Fiestas are extraordinarily rare. A Concours quality example has sold for $115,500 at auction. Now, this next one is unlike anything else on this list, or anything else ever built, for that matter. Number 3. The Powell Sport Wagon. Every single Powell Sport Wagon began its life as a scrapped 1940 to 1941 Plymouth, pulled from Southern California junkyards. Two brothers named Hayward and Channing Powell, former radio and scooter manufacturers working out of Compton, California, purchased these donor chassis for as little as $45 each. They rebuilt the flathead 6-cylinder engines and fitted entirely new bodies made from flat-stamped steel panels with fiberglass front clips molded by a local boatyard. The result was marketed as America's first car produced to sell below $1,000. The exact price was $998.87. The Powell was not fast. Its Plymouth L-head inline-6 made roughly 85 horsepower, and performance was described charitably as adequate. But the vehicle was packed with clever utilitarian touches that no other manufacturer had considered. There was a cylindrical pull-out fishing rod storage drawer built into the right rear fender, a built-in bait box, sliding glass side windows. The early models had bumpers and tailgates made of solid oak. Only about 100 to 150 enclosed station wagons were ever built, out of roughly 1,170 total Powell vehicles. The Powell Sport Wagon Registry reports that between 5 and 11 enclosed wagons still exist anywhere in the world. Production ended in March of 1957, and the reason was not bankruptcy or lack of demand. The supply of 1941 Plymouth donor chassis simply ran out. There were no more junked Plymouths left to buy. The Powell arguably invented the car-based utility vehicle years before the Ford Ranchero in '57 and the Chevrolet El Camino in '59. The Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles has crowdfunded the restoration of the very last Powell pickup truck ever built. Matchbox released a die-cast model in 2020. And yet, unless you are deep into the most obscure corners of automotive history, you have never heard of this car. Recent asking prices range from $8,000 for a project to $27,000 for a presentable example, for a vehicle with fewer than a dozen survivors on the entire planet. Number 4. The 1958 DeSoto Fireflite Explorer. The DeSoto Fireflite Explorer combined two things that should not logically coexist in the same automobile. Under the hood sat Chrysler's legendary Hemi V8, 361 cubic inches, producing 305 horsepower, with a 0 to 60 time under 8 seconds. On the dashboard, buyers could order a Highway Hi-Fi record player. That is not a joke. The Highway Hi-Fi was a factory-installed turntable developed by Dr. Peter Goldmark of CBS Laboratories. It played special 7-inch discs at 16 2/3 revolutions per minute through the car's speakers. Only about 3,600 units were ever installed across all Chrysler products in 1956, dropping to 675 the following year. The system was pulled because the record skipped on rough roads, and the entire catalog consisted of just 42 titles. No rock and roll was included because Goldmark reportedly despised it. The Fireflite was DeSoto's top-of-the-line offering, draped in Virgil Exner's radical forward-look styling with enormous soaring tail fins, triple-lens taillights, and sweeping two-tone paint. Standard equipment included TorqueFlite automatic with push-button gear selection and foam back bench seats. You could also order swivel front seats and factory air conditioning. The 1958 Fireflite Explorer in 9-passenger configuration saw just 609 units leave the factory. One collector who has spent decades tracking these cars believes no more than 5 survive anywhere in the world. That makes this one of the scarcest regular production American automobiles ever manufactured. DeSoto had enormous pop culture visibility in the 50s as the sponsor of Groucho Marx's You Bet Your Life. Every week, millions of Americans heard Groucho sign off by telling them to visit their DeSoto Plymouth dealer and tell them Groucho sent you. The brand died in November of 1960, and everything, the dealer networks, the parts pipelines, the corporate archives, all of it disappeared. A restored Fireflite Explorer could potentially command $50,000 to $100,000 today. But so few exist that the market has barely been tested. Number 5. The 1958 Mercury Voyager 2-door. This is arguably the rarest regular production American station wagon of the entire 1950s. Only 568 were built, and it holds a distinction that no other vehicle in automotive history can claim. The Mercury Voyager 2-door is the only 2-door hardtop station wagon ever produced by any manufacturer, before or since. Mercury did something during this period that no other American brand attempted. From 1957 through 1960, every single Mercury station wagon, the Commuter, the Voyager, and the Colony Park was built exclusively as a pillarless hardtop. While Buick and Oldsmobile offered the hardtop wagon as one option among several, Mercury committed entirely to the concept. The 2-door variants were the most dramatic. These Voyagers could be optioned with the 430 cubic inch Super Marauder 5.8 producing 400 horsepower, which would have made the 1958 Mercury the most powerful station wagon available in America that year. Other options included push-button keyboard control, automatic transmission, a power retractable rear window, seat-o-matic memory seats, and a centralized multi-luber chassis lubrication system. 568 units. To put that in perspective, the 2-door Commuter, which was the lower trim version, sold over 8,000 that same year. The Voyager 2-door is a vehicle that even seasoned collectors and concours judges have often never seen in person. Mercury as a brand was discontinued by Ford in 2010, ending any remaining corporate support for heritage activities. The highest recorded auction price for a Mercury hardtop wagon is $78,100 for a 1959 Colony Park. What a surviving 2-door Voyager would bring at Scottsdale or Amelia Island is anyone's guess. Someone would need to find one first. Number 6. The 1957 Studebaker Scotsman. After 5 wagons defined by power, luxury, rarity, and engineering ambition, this final entry flips the entire list on its head. The Studebaker Scotsman was intentionally the most stripped-down, bare-bones, no-frills American car money could buy. And it might be the most important wagon on this list, because it saved its company from extinction. Named after the stereotype of Scottish frugality, the Scotsman had no chrome trim except the bumpers and door handles, no carpeting, just rubber floor mats. The door panels were made of vinyl-covered cardboard with no armrests. There was one sun visor, on the driver's side only, painted hubcaps, fixed rear windows. The windshield wipers were vacuum-powered, which meant they slowed down when you accelerated. Your color choices were gray, blue, or green. Dealers were specifically instructed not to install extra-cost accessories. It took about 20 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour, and it was magnificent. The Scotsman's flathead inline-six, 185.6 cubic inches making 101 horsepower, delivered roughly 30 miles per gallon in combined driving and nearly 40 on the highway. In 1957, when the average American car got 12, at $1,995 for the wagon, it was the cheapest full-size car in America. Studebaker projected sales of 4,000 units. They sold over 9,300 in the first year, and 20,872 in 1958. The Scotsman represented 46.3% of all Studebaker sedan and wagon sales that year. Without it, Studebaker-Packard would not have survived long enough to develop the Lark, the compact car that briefly revived the company. Eleanor Roosevelt was among the buyers. The no-frills philosophy appealed to the wealthy and principled just as much as the budget-conscious. In an era when every other manufacturer was adding more chrome, more length, more horsepower, and more excess, the Scotsman was anti-fashion made real. It was a prediction of the economy car movement that would sweep America in the 1960s, built half a decade too early to get any credit for it. Well-maintained Scotsman wagons sell for around $30,000 today. Projects start under $10,000. The two-door wagon is the most sought-after variant among collectors. These 6 wagons came from 6 different manufacturers, and not one of those companies still exists. Buick survives as a brand, but the coach builder that made the Caballero's body is long gone. Oldsmobile was shuttered in 2004. Powell, DeSoto, Mercury, and Studebaker, all dead. And that is ultimately why these cars were forgotten. The Chevrolet Nomad endured in collective memory because Chevrolet endured, with active heritage programs, corporate archives, and dealerships that kept the name alive. The Ford Country Squire survived 40 years of continuous production and a starring role in National Lampoon's Vacation. But when a brand dies, its cars lose the infrastructure of memory. No dealer reunions, no factory commemorations, no anniversary editions, no coffee table books funded by the marketing department. The cars rust, the survivors scatter into private collections, and within a generation, even the most extraordinary vehicles become invisible. A supercharged Packard wagon with 159 built, a junkyard Plymouth reborn for $998, a Hemi-powered DeSoto with a turntable in the dashboard. These are not footnotes in automotive history. They are some of the most remarkable production cars America ever built. The only thing they lacked was a brand that lived long enough to remember them. If you want to see more forgotten machines like these, that video is on screen now. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next.